Today we are going to discuss Pandas libraries. So Pandas is a very popular library used for data analysis. So as a student of data analysis, you should be comfortable using this particular library. This is a very fast, it is powerful, and it is also very flexible. And this is open source. So this particular library is open source library. So Pandas is a fast, powerful, flexible and easy to use open source data analysis and manipulation tool built on top of Python programming language. So it is built on the top of Python. It uses something from NumPy also. Since this is a library used for Python, so we have to we can use it directly in our Python code. So how do we import Pandas? Just the way you imported NumPy. So we simply write import Pandas. And now as in NumPy, we almost always use a shortened version of this name and normally write import Pandas as PD. Now you can write anything at it in place of PD, but conventionally everybody uses PD. So how do we import Pandas? We import Pandas as import Pandas as PD. Clear? Now once we import Pandas in our Python programming language, what we can do now, we can now access many inbuilt functions and classes, from Pandas, which we can use for data analysis. So Pandas have already many functions and classes which we need not write from scratch in our Python program. Now let us start with the most common task which is done by data scientists using Pandas, which is loading a data set. So almost always you work with data, and so you have to load a data set. So the first task is invariably always is loading a data set. Now we'll see how to load a data set using Pandas. Now data set comes in many different formats. A very common format is a CSV file. You might have seen a CSV file. So CSV file is a shortened version of comma separated values. So a comma separated value file is a delimited text file that uses a comma to separate values. Each line of the file is a data record. Each record consists of one or more fields separated by commas. The use of the comma as a field separator is the source of the name of this file format, CSV. Now let's look at a CSV file which we are going to use in this task. So it's a very simple CSV file. Let me open it for you. Okay, so this is a CSV file which I have opened in a regular Word editor, in a normal text editor. So you can see in this file there are 4 fields: country, age, salary and purchase, and everything is separated by comma. You can see now these are records, these are individual records. There are 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. There are 10 records. So this small data set consists of 10 records. This is a very small data set. Normally you will encounter a data set with many more values, thousands, lakhs, even millions of records you will find in some regular data set. This is a very small data set with 4 fields, each of them separated by comma. So this data set would have a name, the name .csv, because it's a comma separate file. You can also open this file using your normal Excel reader. If you open this file with Excel, you can see these values directly. So this, you can see I have opened this CSV file using Excel also. Excel automatically understands that the comma is a delimiter and it shows the fields and its different values. Though this is a very small data set, and this is a very interesting data set. We will be using this data set also when we will do the very important task of pre-processing. That's a different thing. Pre-processing, we will come back to it later on. But this small data set has many important features because it contains different types of data. You can see different types of data. It contains data of different ranges. You can see this is a different range, this is a different range. It change some fields where there are no data. So there are a lot of features on which we can do pre-processing tasks later on. So though this is a very small data set, there are very interesting features in this data set. But today our main task is to see how to load a data set using Pandas. So this data set we are going to use. So I have named this data set as data.csv. Okay, now how do we use this? How do we load this data using Pandas? To load this data using Pandas, we have to use a inbuilt function which is known as read CSV. Read CSV. Clear? Now this is the built-in functions which is used to load a CSV file. In its simplest form, this particular function takes one argument, which is the full path name. It's a full path name of the file. That's all. And there are other some arguments which we will encounter later on. Now what we will have to do is simply after importing Pandas, let's open a new one. So what was our first step? Our first step was to import Pandas. How do we do it? We have already seen we do it by import Pandas as PD. Now once we import Pandas, we have to simply use this particular function called read CSV. So we simply say from Pandas, use this function read CSV and the complete path. So I have named this file as data.csv. It will be data.csv, and before that the whole path wherever it is stored. Okay. Now after this, let us understand something about data frames before actually implementing this in our environment, because this is related to something known as data frames in Pandas. Now Pandas data frame is a two-dimensional tabular data structure. So it's a two-dimensional tabular data structure which is mutable. Mutable means it can be changed. Potentially heterogeneous. Heterogeneous means it can contain different type of data with label access, rows and columns. So this side will be rows and this side would be columns. Clear? So a data frame is a two-dimensional data structure. That is, data is aligned in a tabular fashion in rows and columns. Pandas data frame consists of three principal components: the data, the rows and columns. So an example will be something like you have seen a normal data table. It is the similar concept. So maybe we have something like name, age, weight, height, and then some Excel names, ABC, John, something James, age 20, 40, 45, weight say 70, 60, 60, height 160, 150, 140, anything like that. So if you see at this is a very simple tabular data structure. So what are the main so this is a data frame. The main components are the columns. These are the columns which represent the different fields. These are the rows which are the different records, and each of these are data. Clear? So this is the structure of a data frame. Now a data frame can be created in many different ways. In Pandas there are many different types of creating a data frame. So data frame can be created in many different ways. It is good to know the different ways, but as a data scientist it is not necessary to use everything. Most of the times we use some of the techniques to create data frames. Now Pandas data frame can be created from lists. It can be created from dictionaries, a list of dictionaries, and so on. So there are many ways. In real world scenario, a Pandas data frame will be created when we load data sets from existing storage. Storage can be a SQL database, it can be a CSV file, just we have done it, the Excel file, and so on. So when we have loaded this data set, so what we have done till now, after importing pandas as pd, and when we use pandas to read a CSV file, in this case we are reading a CSV file, what it does is it creates a data frame from this data set. So once we load this CSV file, a data frame is created. So what we are returned? We are returned with a data frame. Right? So say we have named this data frame as df. So it will be something like df, then this particular function call. So this particular file will be loaded and it will be assigned to a data frame. In this case we have named it df. So once we execute this, the data set is loaded and the data is available to us as a data frame. Now we can deploy operations on this data frame to work with our data. If we simply type df, then after this the whole data frame will be displayed. If we use a method called df.head, what it will do, we can view the first 5 rows of a data frame. For a large data set, this is deployed. This is a regularly deployed operation to see whether this particular file has been correctly loaded or not. Now pandas can work with different type of data set. For example, we have seen that we'll import a CSV file, but it can import many different types of file. For example, if you use an Excel file, the function changes. So when CSV, we use this function read CSV. If we use Excel file, it becomes something like pd read Excel. The other things remain same. Now once we have seen that we can import a data set and then this data set is assigned to a data frame, we can create a new data frame from an existing data frame. Now here we have already this data frame df. Now say we want to create a data frame using only one column. We have already seen, say, a table like name, age, weight, height, something like this. So say we want to create a new data frame from this particular column only. So we do this by using square brackets, name of the existing data frame and the name of the columns which we want to use to create the new data frame. So it will be something like say this is a new data frame df2. So I have to say I have to create this from the original data frame, which the name of the original data frame was df, and within square brackets we have to give the name of the column from which we want to create a new data frame. Okay, this will be clear when we do the actual implementation. So we can even use multiple columns separating by simply a comma to use more columns to create the new data frame. Now when we have a data frame, we can work with the data and save the results in other formats. We'll come to this. So let's first see this all these things which we have done till now in our real Python programming environment. So I have connected to my Google Colab environment. I may want to name it as pandas notebook, say pandas 1. This is our beginners pandas class. So first step is to import our pandas libraries, but before that, what we will do, let us also upload our data set, because we'll be using our data set which I have shown. This is our data set which I have already shown you. So let's first upload this data set into our Google Colab environment so that we can work with it. So simply I have already saved this CSV file. Now let us upload it. So this, you can see this has been uploaded, a very simple CSV file. Now what is our first step? Our first step is to import pandas as pd. That this is the first step. Now the next step is to load this data set. So and this data set will be assigned to a data frame. Now let's name it df, and then we have to simply call the function pd.readCSV, and then the path. So we can simply use the name here, data.csv. Now let's execute it. So this particular file is loaded, and then now this has been assigned to this data frame. Now we can simply see the first 5 columns using this particular method df.head. So if we execute it, see it has shown the first 5 columns, the first 5 rows. Remember, if it's a very large data set, this is a handy function to see whether the data set has been correctly loaded to the data frame or not. Okay, if I simply write df, the whole data frame will be displayed. Because it's a small data set, so this is easy for us to view. Okay, but if it's a very large data set, we may ideally want to see only the first 5 rows to see whether this has been correctly loaded or not. Now these are the first very important steps, though these steps are easy, but these are very important steps: importing pandas and then loading the data set. Now this data set is assigned to this particular data frame. What we have also discussed is we can create a new data frame from this existing data frame. So I already have this data frame df, we already have, where there are 4 fields: country, age, salary, purchase. Now say I want to create a new data frame from this, simply this particular column country, this particular field. So how do we do it? Say we'll do it by let's start a so what we'll do, so now we have a new data frame, say we have named it df2, and then what we'll do is we will use the old data frame. So first we'll start with square brackets, the name of the original data frame, and then again within square brackets we have to give the name of the columns which we'll use to create our new data frame. In this case, say we want to use simply the country country field to create a new data frame. So now let's execute it. Now if I see the new data frame, you can see a new data frame is created where only the countries are there. You can see this. You can see. So now I have essentially 2 data frames, the original data frame and a new data frame which has been created from our original data frame. Clear? This is where you can create different data frames from an already loaded data frame. Now we have a data frame, we can now work with the data also. Let's say we would like to determine the unique countries in our data set. Okay, so now let's go back to our original data frame, only the first df. Now if we see df once again, you will see that in this country column there are name of countries, but you can see that name of one country is appearing many times. So sorry, France is appearing here, here, again Spain is appearing here, different. So say we want to view only the unique countries of this particular data frame. So what we'll do is we can use a method. The name of the method is unique. What we'll do, we'll deploy this particular method on that particular column of which we'll want to see the unique values. So we want to see the unique values of this particular column country. So we'll simply say df, then within square brackets we'll name the column which we are going to use. In this case we want to use this column country. Okay, and then we'll simply use this, apply this method unique. There's a method called unique. What it will give? It will give the unique values of this particular column of this particular data frame. Now if we run it, you will see that it has given us a result that there are 3 unique countries: France, Spain and Germany. Okay, so this is a method unique. Now say let's go back to our data frame again. Let's view it. Say okay, so this is our original data frame. Now if you look at it, if say let's come to this salary column. Now there are different salary values. Okay, 72,000, 48,000, some values are missing, different values. Now say we want to create a new database consisting of salaries equal to or more than 70,000. Say we want to extract the records which have a salary value of 70,000 or more, and then After extracting the records, we want to save those records in a CSV file. Okay, now this can be done easily in Pandas, but let's first break up the task and see how it can be done using Pandas. Now you know about all these different operators: greater than, less than, equal to, not equal to. Okay, so we have to use one of this inequality operator on this entire data frame. So this will result in a series of Boolean values. Okay, so if I use a inequality operator greater than or equal to, because we are saying that we want to have the values of salary of greater than or equal to 70,000. So once we have an inequality operator of greater than equal to, it will result in a series of Boolean values. In this case, we simply specify the salary column and the inequality operator for values greater than or equal to 70,000. The result is true whenever the condition is true. So that means in this case this will give a value of true, this will give a value of false, this will give a value of false, 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 true, true. Okay, now we can select the specified columns in one line. We simply use the data frame's name in square brackets. We place the previously mentioned inequality operator and assign it to a new variable, say another data frame name. So let's do it now. So it's simply one step process. So what we'll do, we have to assign all these things to a new data frame. So let's name it, say, df new. So what is our task is, we want to extract those records which have a salary value of 70,000 or more. So how do we do it? We simply do it by, first we use the original data frame. Okay, so from where we want to do it? We want to do it from the original data frame. Then on what column we want to see this what is our which particular column we are going to use. We want, for this task we are going to use the salary column. So of df we are going to use the salary column. Clear? And what we are going to test? We are going to test whether salary is greater than or equal to 70,000. That's all. So of the original data frame salary column, if the value is greater than 70,000, this will return true for all the cases where the salary value is more than 70,000 or equal to 70,000, and it will return false for the other values. From that data frame, we create a new data frame and it assigns to a new data frame. So let's run it, and then let's see this new data frame, df new. You can see only there are 3 values. These 3 values have been recorded where the salary value is more than 70,000. Clear? So this is how we use different operators to create new data records. Now that we have a new data frame, what was our original task was to create this data frame and then save this data frame, say, to a new CSV file. To do save it to a new CSV file, what we do is we use a particular built-in function called toCSV. Just like the we can read it using read CSV. Now to save to a CSV file, we use a particular function called toCSV. So what we want to save? We want to save this new data frame df new to a CSV file. So we use this particular function called toCSV, and then we'll name it whatever name we want to say. We want to name it new data. Because the CSV file, we have to use this extension .csv. Now if I execute it, okay, a new CSV file will be created. Okay, now if I refresh it, we should see it. So you see this new file has been created from this particular record. So this I can download. To my local storage. Clear? So make sure you always include this .csv extension when you are using this toCSV function, because we are saving it to a CSV file. Now there are other functions to save the data frame to other formats. If you want to save to an Excel, there will be a different function. If we want to store it to a database, there will be another function. This we will see subsequently. So that's all for today. What we have discussed today, we have discussed how to import pandas, how to load a data set, and how to use some methods like unique, then how to create new data frames from existing data frames, how to use different types of operators to select certain records from a data frame, and then saving data frame back to a CSV file. These things we have seen today. Right? I hope you should practice this and be comfortable using this. You start using this particular library pandas, because we'll be using this frequently in our different tasks. Thanks for today.